Every July, we spend our summer break re-releasing episodes that we believe are still in need of public attention and that would benefit from your leads, tips, and shares. Please be sure to share these episodes and the social media campaigns that we'll be funding across our platforms. This episode contains discussion of murder, crime scenes, and graphic violence. Listener discretion is strongly advised. This is The Fall Line. Birmingham, Alabama. Monday, December 27th, 2010, just 2 days after Christmas. It was a little after 9 a.m. when a customer arrived at Top Perfect Nail-Salon on Bessemer Road in the western part of the city, an area known as Inslee. The shop was owned by Jacky Nguyen and run by his family. He and his romantic partner, Nhut Phan, were well known throughout the neighborhood and well liked by residents and business owners alike. Jacky's teenage daughters were often in the salon. His eldest, Linda, worked there during the summers when she wasn't in school. Nhut's daughter, Thao, had been living in the Birmingham area too. She'd come to town to check it out as a possible home for herself and her children, but stayed to care for her mother after Nhut was diagnosed with cancer. Jacky and Nhut had been together for a few years, and he'd cared for her during her treatments. He liked to take her out when she was feeling up to it, to dinner or a nearby casino to cheer her up. Nhut's 51st birthday was coming up in just a few days, on January 1st, and Jacky would have been 61 on the very same day. They loved to share their celebrations. Jacky and Nhut had worked on Sunday the 26th with the shop's 2 employees, another couple who Jacky'd found an apartment for in town. According to the Birmingham News, this couple last saw Jacky at roughly 4 p.m. on Sunday. The paper reported that closing time was usually around 6, although Jacky and Nhut would often stay open for any customers who needed a last-minute appointment. The next morning, Monday the 27th, the shop should have been operating as normal, but when a client arrived for an appointment at around 9 a.m., she found that no one was waiting for her. And that was strange. The Top Perfect Nail Salon didn't unexpectedly close, nor did they cancel customers' appointments, and Jacky's Lincoln Navigator was parked outside the shop. According to a family member, they were told that the client then called out for Jacky and Nhut. The Birmingham News reported that the customer actually dialed the shop's main number to see if anyone would answer. But both sources agree, there was no answer. The sources vary slightly as to what happened next. The newspaper wrote that this customer waited at the storefront. The family member was told that the customer went inside and called out. It's unclear precisely what occurred, in what order. But we know that this client was unable to reach Jacky and Nhut, and that she was still waiting when the shop's regular employees, the couple, arrived. They were the ones who found Jacky and Nhut's bodies inside the shop. The Birmingham News reported that Jacky was discovered in the back of the main salon and Nhut in the office. They'd both been shot. When the Birmingham Police Department arrived on scene, they discovered that there had been no forced entry into the shop. The back door was still locked. Security cameras were in place, but the tape wasn't recording. Detectives would have to check with nearby businesses, like the Wells Fargo, and hope that another business's camera had caught something. Jacky Nguyen and Nhut Phan's shop is long gone now. A new tenant leases the space, but their families still remember that night when customers, family, and friends crowded outside for an impromptu vigil as officers continued to investigate inside. A customer, Kimberly Hall, was interviewed by WBRC6. She said she was a regular and had just been in recently. She said, quote, "I told them I love them and I'd be back. I'm still hurting. They were like family to me." Another regular customer, Joanne Cox, told the Mobile Register, quote, "They were very, very nice people. It's just a sad day." A different attendee was the mother of another murder victim in the Birmingham area. Her son, Rashid Ali Ward, had been killed in June of the same year. She told WBRC6, quote, she'd been to 6 vigils since his murder. Within days of the murders of Jacky and Nhut, the Birmingham News announced that a $10,000 reward would be offered in their case. Quote, the reward is offered by Barbara's Dairy, which in 2005 established a fund to help the Birmingham Police Department and Jefferson County Sheriff's Office in solving cases. Birmingham Deputy Chief Herman Hitton told the Birmingham News, quote, it's such a tragedy for a family to end this year on a note like this. It's one thing to rob a business, but to take the lives of the owners simply because you can takes this incident to an all-time low. But was it a robbery? Or rather, was it only a robbery? That's the question that Nhut's daughter Thao has asked for the past 12 years. None of her mother's personal items were missing except for Nhut's cell phone. Jacky's daughter Linda told us that when her family went through the salon, they found that her father's petty cash was missing. That was usually about $200 that he kept to make change for customers. But the tip jar was still in place and undisturbed, and Jacky's Lincoln Navigator was not removed from the property. According to a WBRC6 report released the day following the homicides, BPD indicated that at the time they weren't sure if theft was indeed the motive. It was an obvious assumption to make, though, at least at first. Why else would a small business be targeted? And the petty cash was stolen. But there was also this statement from then BPD Sergeant Scott Thurman to reporters, quote, we are issuing a plea for the public's assistance. It's just a senseless act that these people lost their lives over possibly a small amount of money that they had in their store. They were in there working, trying to make a living. It is difficult to say what Birmingham officials believe or don't believe about Jacky and Nhut's cold case. Since connecting with Thao, Nhut's daughter, we've been reaching out to the Birmingham Police Department. Though we've made numerous attempts and submitted a FOIA request, there's been no response. So we are unable to include any insight from the department in these episodes. Thao and Linda, Jacky's daughter, they haven't heard anything either. Not for years. They aren't sure where their parents' case stands. Based on our inquiries, the $10,000 reward that was offered over a decade ago can no longer be verified. Barbara's Dairy has been sold twice since 2010 to 2 separate large companies. But they are still hoping for news and updates. They want local coverage for Nhut and Jacky. The 12-year anniversary of their deaths is coming in just a few months, and there still have been no answers. And there is still reward money available in Nhut and Jacky's case. Metro Alabama Crime Stoppers offers, quote, up to a $5,000 cash reward in all homicides, per our communication with the organization. Thao and Linda feel that someone in Birmingham, or who lived there in 2010, must know something. Over the years, there have been a few rumors, but nothing concrete enough to truly help them. And with each year, Thao's mother and Linda's father's case slips farther from the memory of the residents of the Bessemer Road area who might be able to help. They need Jacky and Nhut's story to reach people again. A billboard, news articles, a press conference, podcasts, any coverage to see if something, if anything, shakes loose. Maybe someone was afraid a decade ago, but perhaps with time and distance, they won't be now. We spoke with both Thao and Linda during the summer of 2022. Though they've known each other for more than a decade, they did not grow up together. Nhut and Jacky's relationship came after their divorces from their first spouses. Linda, Thao, and their other siblings had only gotten to know each other over a few short years before the murders. But they're tied together now by what happened. They try to keep in touch, but life gets in the way. Children, work, everything that makes regular communication difficult. But they both have the same goal. They want this case resolved, and they want to hear from officials, who they hope will reach out soon. Thao was the first family member we made contact with for this story. She reached out almost 2 years after we first let her know that we were available to help cover her mother's story. Brooke sat down with her to talk about her mother, Nhut, and their early life together, and how they came to be in Birmingham. She started by describing what comes to her mind when she thinks of her mom all these years later, an image.
She was tall to be a little. I think she's 5'1". She's beautiful. She got the little short haircut that she really liked with the bangs. You know, that Dora Explorer haircut. She always put that on a lot of makeup, not enough makeup. Her favorite perfume is White Diamond. My brothers always get that for her, that stinky perfume. But I got her nose, so they say. So that's all I got her is her nose. The rest is my dad. We don't know much with her life when she was young because she was in Vietnam at the time. All we know was that she came to America. She had two of my brothers, and my third oldest, she had in Beijing. That's when they were fleeing and come to America. At the time, it was the war. They came to America, and they had my fourth oldest, then me, then my little brother. But we don't know much about her background because we don't ask. When my mom and dad came here to America, they was to have a good life because they were poor. It was to have a good life, grow up and have, friends, like have families. They want us to better ourselves. I have 5 brothers and I'm the only girl. Our family wasn't wealthy. We live in a project. We know everything about that. We try to live the best we can growing up. My mom and dad never look at the issue like, when you come to America, you still got to understand your Vietnamese background. My mom and dad was the type where we here in America, I just got to learn American things. I was 19, 20 when I just started learning how to speak Vietnamese.
Tal's family lived in Florida where her father worked in fishing. Tal knows that her mother and father eventually decided to part ways when she was a teenager, but she has some gaps in her knowledge there. That's because there was a lot happening in her own life.
I met my ex-husband at a very young age, got pregnant at 15. And at 16, I up and left to Dothan, Alabama. My daughter there, because I look at family is very important. So I want her to be around her dad. And at the time, we were together. We got married when I was 18 and had my son when I was 19. 2009, I got a divorce.
It was during this time that Nhut and Jacky met through mutual friends. Nhut decided to move to Birmingham to join Jacky. He'd opened his shop, Top Perfect Nails, by then, and she reached out to Thao, who was having her own marital issues in Dothan.
My mom was like, just come up here and see, what's the life in Birmingham. Because she moved to Birmingham when my little brother hit 18, because her and my dad wasn't looking eye to eye no more. That's when she met Jacky, and Jacky was staying in Birmingham.
Thao decided she should check out the town before she made any permanent move with her children, and there was shared custody with her father to think of too. And Thao didn't have a strong financial base. She was a young mother whose marriage had just ended.
We went through a nasty divorce, and at a young age, I didn't know no better. Basically, he took everything from me. I didn't have a penny in my name. So that's when my mom said, just come up here and let's see how you like Birmingham. And I was like, okay. I didn't want to just take me and both of my kids to Birmingham and not end up liking it and have to come all the way back down to Dothan again. I had asked my ex-mother-in-law at the time, can she watch out the kids for me while I go up there and see where I be financially stable and I come back up and get the kids? And she's like, okay. Well, by the time I was financially stable, I wouldn't say it was a month or so, it was a little further down the line. When I came back, that's when
my ex-husband say that he filed for abandonment and all that. I lost that and didn't even know about it.
So Thao temporarily lost primary custody of her children after that abandonment filing. She began to split her time between Birmingham, where she was working to save money, and going to Dothan to see her kids. It wasn't her permanent plan, but things changed when upsetting news came. This time, not from her children's father, but from her mother. Nhut was sick.
We found out because we went to the ER. She was in so much pain. I thought it was a kidney stone. And then while she was in pain, she's like, can you ask the doctor why I haven't had my period for so long? And I'm like, well, you can't be pregnant, so I don't know. So the doctor's like, well, it's just menopause. And I'm like, well, you're not pregnant, Mom. It's just menopause. But we was in the ER. That's when we found out that she had colon cancer. From there, that's when our life has changed, but it never changed her. I was happy, constantly happy. But from there, that's, taking her to chemo whenever she needed. I was the one that did that for her. Before that whole situation had happened, we had went back to Cooper Green and they did another exam saying that it spread to her lungs. From there, she couldn't go to the doctor. It was like St. Jude's where she stayed.
Thao's life changed radically and quickly. She needed to be in Birmingham nearly full-time then to help her mother. While Jacky ran the salon, she would take Nhut to her appointments, to her chemo treatments, to lunch, to shop. She spent her time in town in a haze, working and caring for her mother. Thao didn't mind. She was happy to help and worried about Nhut, but she didn't have a lot of time to socialize, so she didn't get to know many people well, including the people who worked in the shop or in the larger community. She was constantly on the watch, ready to contact her brothers back in Florida if it seemed like something might go wrong.
Me and my brothers, every time she went to the ER, I would call them to make sure it wouldn't be her last day without seeing us together. But when we found that out, we was ready because we knew it was a natural cause. That was his life. When people have cancer, when people fighting for it, it's life. And, you're always ready and prepared for all that. That's what we did. We was ready, prepared. But she still lived by day, happy that she could be, until Christmas came around. But I told her that I'm going to go see the kids. When I come back, that Monday I'm going to work. And once I'm done working, I will pick her up and we'll go eat together for Christmas. She said, okay. My last word to her was, I love you. I went to see the kids and came back. That Monday I went to work, and that's when I received the call from my stepsister telling me that my mom and Jacky got killed. I think that's the worst thing to hear my whole life.
That call Thao received came from one of Jacky's daughters. Linda and her younger sister, also named Jacky, were in town when the murders occurred. They hadn't lived in Birmingham for long either. They'd followed Jacky to Alabama soon after he opened the salon. Linda is the oldest child. She was 18 and had recently graduated high school when her father was killed. We asked her to tell us more about him.
I don't even know where to start. My dad is such a gentle soul. He's not my biological father. My mom, they met when she came over here from Vietnam years ago, back in the 90s. That's when they met. We came up here in 92, I believe. I was like 2 years old. And I think my mom and him got together and they ended up having a baby girl, which is my baby sister, Jacky. They named him after her, which I think is really cute. And he took real good care of me like I was his own, you know. He drew flowers on my backpack, walk us to the bus stop. He was a cook of the family. He make us our favorite dishes all the time, took really good care of us. Then when Dad opened up a nail salon over in Puerto Rico, I think I was in 5th grade when that happened. He flew us over there for the summer, and we spent the entire summer with him over there. He took us to the beach, took us to the mall. Just showed us a really good time when we was over there. Him and my mom had one in Atlanta called Hot Lanta Nails. They had it for years, and then they sold it. And that's when he decided to go to Puerto Rico, open up another salon. It was just him. I think him and my mom, they opened up that salon, but then my mom came back to the state and he stayed there. And then he sold that, came here, came to Alabama and opened up another salon. And that was called Top Perfect Nails. So he had 3 salons. He had a friend. His name was, I think, Son, S-O-N. He met him, and then he was telling him about an opportunity over in Puerto Rico, how it's better living arrangement. The economy was a lot better over there. So he took a shot and went over there and opened up a nail salon. He had it for a couple of years, and then I guess that's when him and my mom was going through some things when he went over there. So when he came back, I guess they call things quit when he came back to the States. So he left the house to my mom and then he left. So that's when we was living in Georgia. And then he moved to Alabama. Even though they call things quit, my mom and my dad, they were very good friends. They were very close. So he moved to Alabama and he was telling her about the economy down here in Alabama, how, you know, it's a lot better than it is up there. And so she moved down here. And that's how we ended up in Alabama. He lived in a little house. He drove like this 1989, 1990 van that he had bought from like this car lot. And he thought it was just the best thing since sliced bread. So he was out on his own. And he opened up this little shop called Top Perfect Nail on Bessemer Superhighway. He was just trying to make a living and I guess support him and us because he still paid for our phone bills and things like that. So I went to school, and during the summer, I would, now that I'm old enough to like work in the shop, I would come out and work with him during the summer. I would do pedicures and manicures. I would paint kids' nails, put little cute sparkly design on them. So he taught me a lot because I'm a nail technician too. I'm an esthetician nail technician now. And a lot of it was because of my dad going to the shop, teaching me new skills and new techniques.
Everyone in the neighborhood, the other business people and his customers, had really great things to say about your dad and about Nhut as well.
Yes, because he was very sweet. He loves to make jokes. When people asked him what's his name, he said, "My name is Ugly." People would chuckle. It's like, "What, Ugly?" He's like, "Yeah, my name is Ugly. What's your name?" He loves making people laugh. That's one of the beautiful things about him, and that's what I miss the most. Hearing him laugh, being able to hear his jokes. But yeah, the neighborhood people love him. He did all of their nails and surrounding areas. So when he passed away, when we had that vigil that night, a lot of people from the neighborhood came. I was very surprised that we had so much support and love from their neighborhood because I didn't know that he had touched so many people like that.
We asked Linda how her family felt about Jacky's relationship with Nhut.
It was great, you know. I was happy that my dad found someone that loved him and cared for him. I was really excited for his new relationship to blossom. She was a kind girl too. She was very sweet, very gentle, very kind. I like the fact that she also needed my help. When we're in the kitchen and there's certain things that she couldn't do, she would ask me to do it for her. And I wouldn't mind because, you know, she's like a second mom to me. I felt, to me, we had a great relationship. I love her because I know that she loved my dad.
Linda also told us how worried Jacky was when Nhut's cancer diagnosis came. He began to look for ways to help make her stronger.
My dad believed in holistic care, where he have certain plants that he will grow and he will give them to her to take as medicine, you know, to help, I guess, aid her to take away some of the pain that she was going through with cancer. or like if she couldn't eat or if she was feeling bad, he would like fix her certain tea so she can feel better. But after that, to her, she said that it didn't work like it need to. He took on the idea of, okay, well, let's do this how you want to do it. And so, she went and got treatment, radiation and things, chemotherapy. It worked for a little bit. Her cancer went away. And, they were very excited. They went out to eat to celebrate it. Then I don't know, is it a couple months or several months, but the cancer came back. But, he was still there for her. He took good care of her while she was going through her sickness. I remember when she had to cut her hair for the chemotherapy. She was real sweet. I miss her too.
So that Christmas, both families had dealt with a difficult fall and winter. Thao was geographically separated from her children. Jacky and Nhut were facing the cancer diagnosis. Thao was worried about her mother. Linda's younger sister, who was 15 years old, was pregnant, and Linda had just had her own baby a year before. They were busy and stretched thin, but no one anticipated an emergency over the holiday. If a call came in, maybe Thao or Linda would expect to hear news of a hospital trip for Nhut, but no one could have imagined the reality. Linda recalled the phone call that she received from her mother on Monday, December 27th.
I had just had my baby like a year before, and we were looking for a bigger apartment to move into. So we were at the apartment about to sign our lease, and then my mom called, and she's like, hey, your dad's not answering his phone, and someone's like, he got shot. And I'm like, what? I was like, no, I just talked to dad a couple days ago. I said, well, okay, Mom, I'm going to call you back. So I picked up my cell phone, and then I called my dad like 3-4 times. He wouldn't answer. And I keep calling, and he wouldn't answer. So now I'm panicking because my mom just told me he got shot. So we drove all the way to his nail salon. And when I got there were police all around the building. And then there were like tape and stuff, like the yellow caution tape on the door and stuff like that, because they were like blocking it off and they won't let us in. Cindy was one of his coworkers. She's the one that found him. And she's the one that called my mom. And so I asked her what happened. And she told him that it was Christmas Day and that he needs to go home. Nobody's going to come get their nail done. But, my dad's a hard worker. And he's like, well, it's okay. You go ahead and leave. I'm going to stay here. And so she's like, are you sure? And she was like, yeah. So she left. So she went to open up the salon the next day. She said it was really funny because when she went to go open the door, it was already open. She didn't have to unlock it. So she walked in and she saw him on the wall. He was on the floor and his face was caved in. And so that's when she called my mom and called police and things like that. That's when we got there. So we talked to the police. We were giving them information about that. So they were asking us, like, do you know who would want to hurt him or does he have any enemy, things like that. And I was like, no, absolutely not. He does the whole community nails and he loves to make people smile and tell jokes. So I was like, no, he doesn't have any enemies. Not that I know of. So they were like dusting for fingerprints and things like that. And I was begging them to let me go see him and they wouldn't let me because they say that it's not a site that I want to see and things like that. My baby sister, Jacky, I had called her too. Multiple times she didn't answer. So I left her a voicemail and then she finally answered and she came. And, I told her what happened. She was pregnant at the time. It was very hard for her. She doesn't deal with things like that very well.
It was then that Linda called Thao, who'd just gotten off work.
I was on 65. I was punching 100. Didn't care if I get pulled over. They was going to follow me all the way to Ensley. I did not care. At the time, whenever I was driving there, I called all my siblings and told them something had happened to Mom. Y'all need to get here ASAP. I don't care how y'all do it. Just do it. From Pensacola to Birmingham, that's a good, 4 hours or so? It took them about 3 hours to get there. By the time they got there, it's already dark. The cops was gone and all that. Of course, I had to show them what happened. Like, show them the scene and everything. I had to show them. I asked the detective. When I asked him what happened, he said that he thinks
the time. He thinks Jacky was either taking the grocery to the car, from the shop into the car, or to the car into the shop. He just see grocery bag in the car at the time. And he thinks that, when he was doing that, the person either surprised him or whatever outside, got into the chair, to the small little pedicure chair, and pushed him to the wall. He had 2 shots to the head. My mom was in the break room. We thinking that she heard something, and she got up. And by the time she got in there, she had 3 or 4 rounds to the chest and 1 last blow to the head. Now, you tell me if that's the robbery or not. That's execution style. That's straight execution style.
Nhut and Jacky's families had begun to gather outside the shop, and neighbors and other shop owners did too. But they weren't allowed in. The crime scene was being processed, and their parents' bodies were still inside. Linda, who was there before Thao, was told, "You don't want to see this." Thao, who was farther away, wouldn't arrive until the investigation was well underway, and Jacky and Nhut's bodies had been removed from the scene. They stood in shock, waiting for their siblings to arrive. There were questions like, did your family have enemies? Voices murmured in the crowd. Everyone loved the owners of Top Perfect Nails. Had anyone seen anything? A robbery? Why? That question started early, and it didn't stop. Why? 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 Those questions are important, and the investigation itself may have left some potential resources of that information which could lead to answers untapped. Because to have any hope of identifying the murderers of Jacky and Nhut, that is what's needed. Talking, and lots of it. But Thao and Linda don't think that really happened. Not enough of it, at least. Not in 2010. Next time on The Fall Line, Part 2 of Jacky Nguyen and Nhut Phan's story. If you have any information in this case, please call Crime Stoppers of Metro Alabama at 205-254-7777 or visit their website at crimestoppersmetroal.org. Crime Stoppers of Metro Alabama offers a cash reward of up to $5,000 on any homicide case. The families are particularly interested in people who may have been in the area of Top Perfect Nails on or around the time of Jacky and Nhut's murders, and who can offer insight into cars that may have been parked outside the business. Additionally, the family is seeking help in publicizing their loved one's case in the Birmingham area. If you are someone in that region who can help with advertisement or similar in the Bessemer Road area, or perhaps help with flyer distribution, please get in contact with us at falllinepodcast@gmail.com. If you're interested, you can also write to the Birmingham Police Department to encourage their ongoing investigation of Nhut Phan and Jacky Nguyen's case. A polite note letting them know that Nhut and Jacky have not been forgotten, and that we're all hoping for resolution could show public interest in their homicide cases. This is especially true for Alabama residents. So we've included a template on our website that you can use for your letters. Find that linked in our show notes. If you know of a case that should be covered on The Fall Line, there's a link to our case submission form in the show notes. Thank you for listening. The Fall Line is an independent podcast, and we appreciate listener support. It allows us to do research, obtain FOIA, pay our content advisors, and support and donate to the causes we care about. If you try out the products we advertise, please use our sponsor codes. It really helps. And please take a moment to rate and review our show in your podcast app of choice. If you listen on Apple Podcast, please be sure to check your subscription to make sure that you're set for automatic download so that you don't miss an episode. And if you'd like to support the show and the stories we cover, join us on Patreon or Apple Premium. Through both platforms, you can gain early ad-free access to our episodes. The Fall Line's Patreon and Apple Premium support our family therapy fund and actively pay for therapy for families who've appeared on the show. My book, Lay Them to Rest, is out everywhere. Find out more through the link in our show notes. The Fall Line is written, hosted, and researched by Laura Norton, with additional research assistance by Melissa Gold. Interviews by Brooke Hargrove. Produced, engineered, and scored by Maura Curry. Content advisement by Vic Kennedy and Brandy C. Williams. Special thanks to Liz Lipka.